generosity moral story that will inspire you. On a cold, wintry evening, Sarah, a struggling single mother of two, stood outside a crowded grocery store. Her breath fogged the air as she clutched a small list of essentials, the total carefully calculated to the last cent. She worked tirelessly at a local diner, but the rising costs of rent and school supplies left her with little to spare. As she waited in line, her attention was drawn to an elderly man shivering near the entrance, holding a cardboard sign, "Hungry and cold. Anything helps." Sarah's heart sank. She had barely enough for her family, yet the man's weary eyes haunted her. Would she give her last dollar to a stranger in need? This question echoed in her mind as a quiet resolve began to build. What Sarah didn't realize was that this simple decision would spark a chain of events that would change her life forever. As Sarah walked into the store, her mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The list in her hand felt heavier than the groceries it promised. Milk, bread, and a small bag of rice were all she could afford, yet they meant dinner for her children. Every penny mattered, and there was no room for charity in her carefully balanced budget. But the image of the elderly man lingered. His hollow cheeks and trembling hands painted a stark picture of desperation. Sarah couldn't help but wonder about his story. Was he someone's father? Did he have a family who had given up on him? The questions gnawed at her conscience. Inside the store, Sarah moved robotically, picking up the items she needed. Each beep of the scanner at checkout seemed louder, her anxiety growing with each item. When the cashier announced the total, Sarah hesitated. She glanced at the small jar labeled "Community Help Fund" on the counter. It wasn't much, just a scattering of coins and crumpled bills, but it reminded her of how kindness, even in small amounts, could make a difference. Her fingers hovered over her wallet, the image of her children flashing before her. They had gone without enough already, how could she risk their well-being for a stranger? Yet, as she exited the store, groceries in hand, her steps slowed when she saw the man again. A new wave of doubt struck her. She couldn't solve his problems, not with the little she had. But another thought surfaced: what if it were me? What if I needed someone to notice, to care? The debate in her heart was fierce. She could walk away, pretend she hadn't seen him, and continue with her life. Or she could take a chance, a leap of faith, and give what she had, hoping it would mean something. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sarah took a deep breath. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the last $5 bill she had set aside for emergencies. Her hands trembled as she approached the man, unsure if she was making the right choice. "Here," she said softly, holding out the bill. "I hope this helps." The man's eyes widened in surprise and gratitude, his voice shaking as he thanked her. Sarah had no idea that this small act of kindness would set the stage for an extraordinary twist of fate. Sarah hesitated as she handed the man the crumpled $5 bill. Her heart raced, and doubt lingered in her mind, but the man's reaction immediately reassured her. His tired eyes lit up with gratitude, and his lips trembled as he took the money with both hands, clutching it like it was a lifeline. "Bless you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You don't know what this means to me." In that moment, Sarah felt an unexpected wave of relief. It wasn't the loss of the money that struck her, but the warmth of knowing she had done something good, no matter how small. She didn't have much, but she gave all she could, and that felt extraordinary. The man quickly tucked the money into his pocket, shielding it from the cold wind, and smiled at her. "I was starting to lose hope," he admitted. "I haven't eaten in 2 days. This will get me a meal and maybe a little warmth." Hearing his words brought tears to Sarah's eyes. For the first time, her own struggles seemed lighter. She didn't have much, but she still had her children, her health, and the ability to work. This man had almost nothing. The man asked for her name, and she introduced herself with a smile. "Sarah," she said. "Sarah," he repeated softly, as if committing it to memory. "Thank you for reminding me there's still kindness in this world." As Sarah walked away, her emotions swirled between joy and uncertainty. She couldn't stop thinking about what she had done, questioning whether it was reckless or right. Yet, deep down, a quiet sense of fulfillment blossomed. That evening, as she sat down with her children to eat, she noticed something different about herself. There was a lightness in her heart, a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. Giving had not only helped the man but had also shifted something inside her. What Sarah didn't know was that her single act of generosity would ripple far beyond this moment, weaving into a story far more profound than she could imagine. The next morning, as Sarah prepared her children for school, there was a knock at the door. Puzzled, she opened it to find a sharply dressed man holding a small envelope. "Good morning," he said with a warm smile. "I'm here on behalf of Mr. Thompson. He wanted me to deliver this to you." "Mr. Thompson?" Sarah asked, confused. The man nodded. "The gentleman you helped outside the grocery store yesterday." Sarah's heart raced as she took the envelope and opened it cautiously. Inside was a handwritten note. "Dear Sarah. Your kindness yesterday was a gift I didn't deserve but desperately needed. What you didn't know is that I'm not just a man down on his luck, I'm a retired businessman who wanted to see if compassion still exists in the world. Your generosity, despite your own struggles, inspired me deeply. Please accept this small token of my gratitude." As she unfolded the note further, her hands began to tremble. Enclosed was a check for $5,000. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as the man added, "Mr. Thompson also mentioned he'd like to connect you with a job opportunity if you're interested." Sarah's single act of generosity had unlocked a future she never imagined. Sarah's life changed in ways she never expected. The $5 she gave away had returned to her in the form of hope, security, and opportunity. With the check, she could finally pay off overdue bills, stock her pantry, and buy her children the warm coats they desperately needed. But more than the financial relief, the experience reminded her of the power of kindness. Mr. Thompson, true to his word, offered Sarah a stable job at his company. The position gave her a chance to provide a better future for her family and brought a sense of dignity she hadn't felt in years. Reflecting on the whirlwind of events, Sarah realized that her small act of generosity had created a ripple she could never have foreseen. Her willingness to help a stranger not only changed his day but reshaped her own life. The moral of Sarah's story is simple yet profound: kindness is never wasted. Even the smallest acts have the potential to grow into something life-changing, touching hearts in ways we may never imagine. Sarah's journey proved that compassion, even in the face of personal hardship, can spark extraordinary outcomes and inspire others to believe in the goodness of humanity.